You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I was talking to Mark Ronner earlier about growing up, loving sports, how we were exposed to sports, the sports we played, the sports that we watched. And Mark made a great point about father-son relationships and how oftentimes dad is the one who will introduce you to something. And an extension of that love affair with sports is the announcer or broadcasters connected. If you're from LA, I need not tell you, if you're at least 35, 40 years old, you know that LA has had the best professional sports announcers ever. The late Vin Scully with the Dodgers, the late Chick Hearn with the Lakers, Bob Miller with the Kings. And I can run a much longer list if you just talk about Southern California. It's about the relationship with the team and also your local announcer. But also you have the national announcers. It could be Al Michaels, if it's like NFL football, or John Madden, if you remember him. That is what usually drives the popularity of broadcasts. You have to have something that pulls you in. It's not just the sport. It's the announcer broadcaster as well. I mention that because Wednesday, as in yesterday, the NBA announced that games will be broadcast on Amazon Prime Video. Not TNT, not ESPN, not ABC. And it's classic Inside the NBA show. If you know anything about that program, it is probably the most popular basketball analysis program ever. It had Ernie Johnson, it had Shaquille O'Neal, it had Kenny the Jet Smith and others, and Charles Barkley. And they would rotate other people in every now and then, but it was really, really, really funny. And just because a sport is popular, it doesn't mean that it is as popular wherever you put it. Last year, we talked about how YouTube paid billions of dollars to have the rights for NFL games, Sunday Ticket. And that was a horrible deal. Why? Because people were not going to search for Sunday Ticket or Red Zone on YouTube. You didn't have the type of pull. You didn't have the broadcasters or the announcers to really make that a robust experience worth the money. Not for you, not for me. And similarly, when you talk about the NBA, when you put games on Amazon Prime, and I say this as someone who loves the idea of streaming, you have to make things easy and accessible. When the NBA rights were held by TNT, which is a division of Warner Brothers, people who had cable could still find the games. If you're watching like the national games on ESPN, because they have a portion of the deal as well, they were easy to find because people had cable and you can find it on streaming. And even when they were on ESPN, they probably were simulcast on ABC, Broadcast Network. What NBC is doing, they're removing that cable component. Amazon Prime is a fully streaming option. Now, they may offer some of this on one of their cable outlets like Bravo or something like that. I don't know. But part of the reason why TNT was so popular was the availability and accessibility. It was easy to find, and people knew where to find it. The NFL has already tried experimenting with Amazon Prime showing football games. It was not very successful. They've tried it on Twitter. It was not very successful. And although folks who are younger than me and you are very comfortable with watching media on their devices or streaming it, when you're talking about sports, that's not usually the place. We're not there yet. We like to be able to find it relatively easily. And Amazon Prime is not the place or space that you go for sports. It just isn't. You know, I have Amazon Prime, but I don't know how many basketball games I'm going to be watching on Amazon Prime. Going back to broadcasters, I don't know how many I'm going to watch when I know that I can't find my favorite broadcasting trio to watch the games pre, during, and post-game analysis. That's a part of the whole experience. And if you've ever tuned into TNT, even they had an online portion. I don't know if you know this, Mark, where you could watch the game without broadcasters. You could watch it from different camera angles. It was well integrated into this online space.
I like that. It's like living in the future, but I am also heartened by the fact that we're going to see more boxing on streaming now, because I used to have so much fun getting together with buddies, with your booze and your cigars and whatever you have, to watch boxing matches. And then all of that moved to pay-per-view and became out of most people's spending range.
Well, it's gone like full circle.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, it was closed circuit, and it was really, really difficult to get the fights. Then it went to pay-per-view, and you had the golden age of boxing in the 1980s and 90s, where the idea of a fight party was around boxing.
Right.
Now with mixed martial arts and the UFC, you can have a fight card every single month, but it doesn't, to me, and I'm very biased, it doesn't have the same type of pageantry or build-up as a top fight night, a top boxing match. The problem with boxing is you get those premier matches every now and never. The top fighters almost never fight.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue. But if Netflix, for instance, is going to start showing fights, I'm for that. At least it's moving in the right direction.
Yes, I am for that as well. And I want a little bit more competition, though. And you have what Jake Paul is doing, and I can't call that boxing. Those are just circus matches.
Yeah, they're PR events.
Yeah, but he's charging $64.95 for each event. It is ridiculous. And fools, and I do mean this, fools are paying for it.
I will not be.
No, I never have, and I never will. And I think it's diluted the idea of a boxing pay-per-view event. And I wish we could go back to that, where you'd see the top boxers in the world square off.
Yeah, I don't know if his fight with Tyson is back on again.
Supposedly it's for November.
Okay.
Supposedly.
I am looking forward to seeing Tyson absolutely mercilessly smoke his ass.
I would like him to, but I don't know he will. If only because Tyson is now 58 years old. And he's fighting a 27, 28-year-old guy. Tyson, if it were only a 2 or 3 round match, I would look at it differently.
I wouldn't want to get hit by him.
No, I wouldn't want to get hit by him either. I'm just saying 58 is 58. And the last time we saw Evander Holyfield fight, he got his ass whooped by Vitor Belfort. And they are not the same guys anymore when they're in their late 50s.
I understand that. Late 50s is not late 20s, but Tyson is a monster.
He is. And no, he has not lost anything as far as power. I don't know whether he is. Well,
let me put it this way. You and I, with our histories in martial arts, wrestling, whatnot, we've come up against people like, for me, it was Bill Superfoot Wallace, who I met a number of years ago, who are just like walking around freak strong.
Yes, they are.
No matter how well worked out and toned and in shape you might be, these guys are just like an order of magnitude stronger and more monstrous. I feel like that about Tyson. You're not going to approach him.
Well, no. Bill Superfoot Wallace, world-class athlete.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, world-class athlete. Sometimes I think we get a little caught up in thinking that the 58-year-old Mike Tyson that we see in the TikTok videos at 30 seconds at a time lasts over 5-6 rounds against someone 30 years his junior. I don't know.
I can't wait to see that, though.
Well, either can I. I just won't pay for it.
Sounds like a good excuse for a party over at Shea Mo.
Yeah. Are you picking up the tab for the fight? Because I said I'm not going to pay for it.
I feel like I'm kind of coming down with something.
That's what I thought.
I guess. What's this cough?
I guess we won't be watching it by legal means. That's all I'm saying.
A little COVID here.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And when we come back, we're going to tell you as we get closer to our Deadpool and Wolverine conversation at the bottom of the hour. Did you know Kevin Feige just got a star on the Walk of Fame, the Hollywood Walk of Fame? We'll tell you about that next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Just about maybe a little less than an hour and a half, I'll be at a movie theater seeing Deadpool and Wolverine. And if you know anything about Hollywood, everything is done with a plan, a promotional plan. And part of the promotional plan for the movie there was a ceremony in Hollywood today. Kevin Feige, the Marvel Studios president, he's, I will say, the father of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it, received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame today. And if you didn't know, he is the 2,785th person to receive a star. And he's only 51. He looks older, but he's only 51. And the people who showed up alongside him, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman as Deadpool and Wolverine, hits theaters today. If you think this is a coincidence, it's not. Also, you had Chris Evans, the original Captain America. You had Chris Pratt, Guardians of the Galaxy, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel out there, David Harbour. He's the Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, yep.
Simu Liu from Shang-Chi, and Catherine Hahn from WandaVision.
And Agatha
yes.
all along coming up.
And Sebastian Stan, obviously the Winter Soldier. So all of this helped propel Deadpool and Wolverine, because every story which is carrying the news of the Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame mentions Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Deadpool in theaters starting today. It's quote unquote tomorrow, but you can get late showings today. They actually even had some early showings today.
As early as 3:00 today.
Wow.
That's why I'm not online.
Yeah, I look, we have some mutual friends who saw those earlier shows today, and I'm trying to stay away from any spoilers if at all possible. I do know we'll get into this in a much more robust way next segment. I do know the movie is expected to do at least $165 million, which is bonkers for a rated R movie.
From my understanding, and all reports indicate not, and I've avoided any reviews, but the reports from everyone who has had early access to seeing it said that this is likely going to do Joker numbers as far as being a $1 billion rated R superhero film.
Okay. I think I'll enjoy it more than Joker. No disrespect to Michael Easton. But can't wait for that. But I think about what Kevin Feige has been able to do, and what I appreciate about him, and you may not be familiar with him, he was someone who worked his way up the ranks through Marvel. I think he even might have started as an intern, and then eventually got an opportunity to provide input on some of the early Marvel movies. The beauty of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this was thought to be impossible, that you could connect all these different movies and they would tell a singular storyline with different threads, but it's still, they had a central storyline which would end each phase with an epic movie. And with the exception of phase 5 and phase 6, they've gotten it pretty much right. And now I think they're back on track. And because of Bob Iger coming back, Kevin Feige has removed a lot of the movies and TV shows from the production slate. It's really slimmed down, so much so that Deadpool and Wolverine is the only MCU release in 2024. The only one.
Since the establishment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, after the release of the Avengers, they have had multiple movies every year. When Feige had complete control over what was happening, when Bob Chapek came in to take over for Bob Iger, he wanted to, from all reports and accounts, we don't work for Disney or Marvel, but everyone said that he wanted to start getting into things that were going to be more commercially viable as far as products, as far as selling things, Halloween costumes, all that kind of stuff, and getting away from the Marvel mission. With Iger coming back and saying, hey, Feige, what's happening here? And Feige's like, I don't know. I was ready to walk because the power was being taken away from me and we are moving away from our mission. Now we're getting back to that. And even some of the titles that we wanted to see, Blade, things like that with Mahershala Ali, we wanted to see that this year, but Feige's like, it's not right.
And I'm not going to release a subpar product.
Yeah, there will be nothing subpar. That is why so far, even next year, we only have Captain America 4, with Harrison
World
Ford
Order.
and Brave New World.
Brave New World.
Brave New World. Yeah, it was originally New World Order. Now it's Brave New World with Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford in the leads for that. But we also have, I think, just one more film with Thunderbolts. I think that's it for next year thus far.
Thunderbolts, for those who don't know, it's like the anti-Avengers.
Yeah.
They're dark Avengers. They're
villains,
anti-heroes. Yeah. Some of them are villains. Some of them are anti-heroes.
Yeah.
It's like the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah. For those who've seen the movie, Lee Marvin would be proud. Jim Brown.
Yeah. I'd like to see Lee Marvin as a superhero. That's like the one AI thing I'd enjoy seeing.
Lee Marvin as Thunderbolt Ross would have worked.
You stop right now. Lee Marvin as Nick Fury. And that's the end of that discussion.
Okay. The other Nick Fury.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. I can see that. And unfortunately, he was a man out of his time. If he would have come along now, he would have fit in perfectly.
Now, I actually mentioned to Tuala, I went on a rabbit hole looking at Thunderbolts trailers, and it turned out they were all fake, but they looked really good anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're fake.
But this coming, what part? Is that like July of next year, Thunderbolts?
Right now, Thunderbolts, it is looking like it is. I'm looking it up right now. April.
Okay.
April 2025. Oh my God, I completely forgot. I am tripping. Fantastic Four.
That's coming in 2025?
That is coming in 2025.
Is that really coming in 2025?
July 2025. That's why right now at Comic-Con, the biggest promotion going on, like all the posters, everything having to do with Marvel is those three films. But they started when they first started putting up all the billboards and posters. They started with Fantastic Four.
Okay, then that makes it real. When the cast walks out on stage at Comic-Con, then I'll feel more confident that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, those are the only three next year. Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, and Captain America 4.
Do you know if they still have Julia Garner planned as the Silver Surfer? That offends me.
I don't know.
Julia Garner, not as Norrin Rad.
It's a different surfer and a different silver.
It is a different surfer from a different world. Look, I don't want to get into the whole storyline of what's happening because we're going to lose literally everyone when we go that deep. But it is set in a universe where the Fantastic Four with Pedro Pascal and the rest are set in a universe where they are the only heroes in that world. And they come into contact with that Julia Garner Silver Surfer who warns them of Galactus, one of the big bads who we will see.
And I'm quite sure the Cloud, I should say that, which gives them their powers, will probably zap them into Earth 616.
No. The revelation comes from my understanding, this is on Reddit, which has leaked a lot of Marvel stuff, unfortunately. But what happens is that Silver Surfer, similar to what happens with the 616 Silver Surfer, who tries to save the Earth after coming into contact with the Fantastic Four. This Silver Surfer is determined that there is no saving the Earth, and Reed Richards and them have to try to fight or hold off Galactus while trying to get the inhabitants of their world to the 616 world. Because Deadpool Wolverine deals with what? Multiversal incursions.
And we'll get into that next. We'll talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, the biggest movie in the country this weekend.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
When I get out of here tonight, in just about a half an hour, I'm going to go straight to the movie theater to check out Deadpool and Wolverine. It's expected to do more than 300 million worldwide, more than 165 million here in the United States, starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. If you are a fan of either, you have to see this movie. If you're a fan of politically incorrect comedy, you have to see this movie. If you're a fan of all sorts of profanity and inappropriate jokes, you have to see this movie. The Merc with a Mouth. I was less familiar with Deadpool until I met Tuala Sharp, and he brought me up to speed. And just reading some of the comics which were available at the time, I was thinking there's no way you can bring this to the screen. And Ryan Reynolds, if you don't know the backstory, he used his own money to put together a short to pitch to studios. Just about everyone turned him down, of how he wanted to do Deadpool. It was about maybe 3 minutes long. It wasn't that long. But it was one studio, Fox, which decided to give him a shot in a very meager budget, and it turned into a worldwide phenomenon. They wouldn't even, it is self-aware because it jokes about how meager the budget is. It couldn't afford all but 2 minor X-Men characters in the first movie. But it has always been funny as can be. And a running joke in that is Deadpool, and we don't know because we never heard from Wolverine, but Deadpool has this rivalry with Wolverine and Hugh Jackman. And It's been going on for the past 2 movies, and this was the payoff where Hugh Jackman and Wolverine are actually in this movie. And we know from the trailers that Deadpool is going to go around and clean up the timeline, the problems and issues that fans like you and me have with what's been happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in recent years to get, what did he call himself? He was like MCU Jesus or something.
Yes.
He termed himself. So he's supposed to set everything in order in a cinematic sense so fans can stop complaining.
This film on the surface is pure genius just because when you first saw Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, it was in the Hugh Jackman film Wolverine Origins. And in that film, we got a less than stellar appearance and performance of Deadpool.
Well, we didn't see him as Deadpool. We saw him as Wade Wilson.
We saw him as Wade Wilson. And they called him Deadpool in the end.
Right. And that was Scott Adkinson playing Deadpool, air quotes.
Yes, and that was bad. It was very bad, and they even joked about that horrific, almost cursed, horrific film in Deadpool 2. Hugh Jackman had all but given up doing Wolverine after the last Fox X-Men film appearance. He was like, "I'm good. I fulfilled my contract. I'm not coming back." Ryan Reynolds kept poking at him, egging him on social media. Every film he would have Hugh Jackman jokes in the film. Actually, like not just as Wolverine, but just Hugh Jackman jokes, period, in his films. And they formed a friendship that they said, you know what? We've got to do this film. And the payoff from this years long back and forth on social media and this friendship they built is we are going to get one of, I'm predicting, the greatest superhero films ever made. It's to the point where there are several theaters that were sold out. Because I was telling people early on, when I bought tickets, every other theater I saw after that was sold out. In Porter Ranch and several other AMCs, they have actually opened up more theaters, meaning some films that were showing, some of those films that we laugh at, like you did $1 million, you're not going to last, they're gone because they have opened up those theaters for Deadpool Wolverine.
For all the folks who are saying, I'm so tired of superhero movies, they're not doing well because people are tired of them. No, they're tired of bad movies.
Yeah.
And Deadpool has a history of giving the fans what they want. They are as reflexive and responsive to fan input more so than any other franchise.
Absolutely.
So you're going to see a lot of records fall this weekend for superhero movies. The box office will be back on track in an annual sense. Movie theaters will be very pleased with this weekend because of Inside Out 2 as well. Those movies are still doing well, but Deadpool Wolverine is going to take over media. We told you about it. You'll see it. You'll know that we're right by the end of the weekend. When we come back, I'm going to be joined by Laurieann Gibson. She's a star, one of the stars of the new Hulu show, Dress My Tour, where fashion and music come together in a reality show sense. That's next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
These music superstars are on the hunt for their next iconic looks.
Don't stop now.
And 11 designers will be tasked with creating their next show-stopping moments.
It's a brand new era.
Are you guys ready for the chance to win $100,000?
I am looking forward to this opportunity to be my comeback.
I'm your host, Kate Upton. Each challenge, one of you will be eliminated. The decision will come from your fellow designers. Why are you laughing?
I'm stressed.
KFI AM 640. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, Let me tell you about Hulu's new series, Dress My Tour, hosted by supermodel Kate Upton, which follows 11 aspiring fashion designers on the raw, emotional journey of creating stunning fashion pieces worthy of the music industry's biggest names. The designers compete to make their mark in the fashion and music industries in hopes of winning the $100,000 prize. Director, choreographer, artist, singer Laurieann Gibson serves as both judge and mentor for the contest on Dress My Tour, which is now available on Hulu. Ms. Gibson, a pleasure to speak with you this evening. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So excited to speak with you.
You've choreographed for literally the biggest names in the world. I'm talking Michael Jackson, Alicia Keys, Lady Gaga, and Beyonce. And that's just for starters. They don't seem like they could be more different individually, but they're similar in terms of their star power, their magnitude. What is it about this marriage of music and fashion when it comes to a world tour?
Well, it's about, creating that story in their garment, in the costume design. First of all, shout out to Frank Ganson for Beyonce, and obviously Michael Jackson as a plethora of choreographers. But for me, in particular, Lady Gaga and Nicki Minaj, Katy Perry, and my brands, it's the why. The music dictates a certain experience, and touring is that experience. And costume design is a part of that razzle dazzle. Why? What do you wear? How do you wear it? How does the sustainability? What's the fabrication? What's the durability? What's the uniqueness that each individual artist can have to express them? Not everybody can wear the same thing.
You make a great point. It just leads to my next question. It's one thing to envision a great move or a great outfit. It's another to be able to create it and sell it to a superstar. How do you go about gaining the trust and confidence of someone the magnitude of a Michael Jackson, a Beyonce, or a Lady Gaga, any one of those?
Well, it's about their music. And so when you understand that, and each record that they make or each moment that they have is unique, it's different. We're always evolving. So what you did yesterday isn't what you can do today. And then tomorrow will require something else. So it's about the evolution. So with costuming, you have to really start with the music. If we're dealing with music artists, costuming, film and television, that's different. Live on stage, Dress My Tour, 7 shows a night, sometimes 2 shows a night for 32 weeks straight. There's so much that goes into the comfortability, how they move, how to build it, how to fabricate it. What is the fabric? So this show is so dramatic, so exciting, and so needed right now. And even if you're not a costume designer and you just want to put on a show and get inspired, the razzle dazzle, grab a drink, sit down, stream it. It's exciting and it's inspiring. And these costume designers of this generation, so talented, groundbreaking. They're visionaries. So they're fearless. So it's a really great ride.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking about Dress My Tour, which is now available on Hulu. It's offering not only a $100,000 grand prize, but a platform in which people around the world are going to see the work of these designers. Laurieann Gibson, take me more into the show. Tell me about some of these designers, where we meet them in their professional growth.
Well, they're young, but they're great. They're on fire, and some of them aren't. Some of them think you can Google a design or it's on your Pinterest. No, we're talking about a gift. We're talking about Gautier. We're talking about, real visionaries. So you have to have something special, and it's $100,000 at stake, and you get a different artist every week. Tony Braxton, French Montana, JT, Coi Leray, it goes on. And I think the interesting thing is they have the talent. And it's a different time where costume designing is needed. It's necessary. There's so many artists and no opportunity to be unique with what you're wearing. So these young designers have an opportunity to sit in front of the biggest talent and express their gifts.
I worked in the music industry for about 15 years at some of the top labels, and I don't say that as a boast. I say that to co-sign what you're saying as far as the demands which are placed on people. With that in mind, I know that you're going to put, you and your other judges are going to put these designers through the ringer. The emotions are going to be raw. Convey for other people who may not know the stress of working in this industry.
It is time consuming, and sometimes you don't have time. Sometimes you're put in a situation where what you thought the artist wanted is completely different the next day, 24 hours later, and you've got to pivot. So they are feeling the pressure of the real working world as costume designers. As a creative director, I'm dealing with them in the way that I deal in the real world. If your fabric isn't holding up, there's consequences. Why'd you pick that fabric? We told you what the assignment was. So they're faced with every real world conversation, and that is what defines the winner. And you get to see that journey because the winner survives each week a challenge that could break you.
I know that this can be a very painful process for anyone who is not the winner, but is it fair to say just the exposure and the process in which they go through will help them grow professionally and just being seen on the world stage?
Yeah, I think, and absolutely. Myself, Marina, Kate, as judges, as mentors, the executive producer, creator, Holly Carter, there's still a sensitivity. There's a responsibility that we've come together and we have. There is a awareness when we are dealing with these young talents to always empower them right where they are.
Do you think that these young talents have it a little bit easier than you when you were coming up because there is a platform like Dress My Tour, or there is social media where they can get their designs out easier? Do you think it's easier for them coming up as opposed to you?
I think it is. It seems easier because, of course, but the downside is you have access, so you better be good. Because if we see you too early and you're not good and you're not ready, then that's the impression. And we've made and defined our opinion. And you're going to have to work extra hard to get that attention back.
So you better be ready. Because you may not get a second chance. We've talked about Dress My Tour, now available on Hulu. Go check it out. Laurieann Gibson as judge and mentor. We'll be sure to tune in and follow the journey. Ms. Gibson, thank you so much for coming on this evening.
Thank you for having me.
It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Opinion without the preach.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeart.